The answer isn't always like, we just need more lead. It's like, are you using a CRM? Are you tagging the different types of clients, what they've actually done with you? Do you have an email marketing campaign? Are you marketing to the unconverted leads? Because a lot of times you don't need more leads, you need to improve your sales process. And all these little things, when you add them up, small increase in conversion rate, little bit better sales process. We're better at reselling services to our current clients, really not having many more leads, but you can increase your revenue by 25, 50% just by making these little tweaks. You were talking about getting out of the first stage of your business into the second stage. So what did you kind of mean by that?
Yeah. So, and I stole this from a couple of different people. There's a book on this called Ready, Fire, Aim, and
I've heard of that.
Alex Hormozy, he's
Of
awesome
course.
marketing salesperson, operator. But basically, there's different stages in the business. So really what it is like the amount of people that you have. So it's like you can only realistically talk to or manage 7 people at a time. In the limousine business, obviously, it's a little bit different. You might have a lot more drivers or what have you, but once you have set, one layer of team leads down, so like 7 people across, then they start building their
Teams under them. Yep.
Exactly. And it typically correlates with certain revenue numbers. I think for the limousine business, it might even be easier to kind of break it down a little bit more, but like 0 to 100,000 per year, that's your kind of like single car operator. And at that point for you, the biggest thing is knowledge and getting sales. Like, you guys just learn because you just have no idea what to do. You need to, feed your brain, talk to anybody you can talk to, just try to get as much knowledge as possible. Then you kind of go from 100,000 to anywhere up to 3 million, anywhere up to maybe 2.5 million. That's kind of my rough estimate there. And at that point, it's about, it's a lot of things, but it's hammering on the sales, hammering on the marketing, getting the deal flow, getting the conversion, getting the business, and also learning, but at the same time, building your core foundation of how the business works, right? At this point, you're kind of figuring out the secrets, but you might not know, there's not a lot of things that you can optimize or, basically it's so from the 0 to 100, it's just sales and knowledge, but from from that point onward to let's say 2.5 million. So it's hammering on that as hard as possible and just maximizing as much as possible. Because at that point, you're still learning. You're not going to know a lot of different things, I think. A lot of things I'm learning now, I had no idea. I didn't know I need to optimize my sales funnel and I need to start scripting things out, or I need to look at the lifetime value of my customers, or how to price my vehicles properly. All these different things, there's certain, you can learn these things. Obviously, like Ken Lucci, for example, you can kind of learn from him and do that. But honestly, a lot of it is just going to be you kind of figuring that out as you go, just because at least I'm kind of stubborn. So I might hear something and it doesn't click until I actually, run into that scenario.
Yes.
Yep. So, and then at that point, I think what kind of so you kind of see massive growth. If you figure the sales component out and the delivery, if you can deliver the service, and you figured out the sales and marketing component out, and you're operating, you're able to operate and continue to, you're basically hustling at this point.
Yes.
You kind of see massive growth. And then at least in our scenario, then we kind of tapered out a little bit. So we kind of hit this asymptote, right? And at this point, it's we're getting a shit ton of leads, we're getting a ton of business. We have a decent amount of inventory. We probably still need more. And the business is running, but might not be running at its full capacity, or might not be as profitable as we want it to be. So that's this point, and this is kind of how I kind of describe where we're at, is now we need to take what we're currently doing and basically completely break the model again and change the way that the business is operating, and finding different things that we might be doing well and the things that we're doing really bad, and then figuring out the highest leverage activities that we can pull on to then continue that growth.
So do you mean as far as what vehicles are the most profitable for us? Because I'm sure you guys have some that, are just far more profitable, even if that you have some vehicles that bring in a ton of revenue, but maybe the margins are lower. Is that kind of what you mean? What do you mean by breaking apart when you said that exactly?
Mhm.
Is it?
Yeah, it's that and more. So it's like looking at every part of the business, because in that growth phase, like your main focus is marketing and sales, get more business. Who do I talk to? How do I talk to them? How do I get in front of people and get more of those people and then turn them into business? And you're kind of keeping up with that business. At a certain point that you might have that, like we have that flow figured out, like we have the deal flow figured out. So we know where the business is coming from. But now it's figuring out how to optimize all across the board. So that's one aspect, right? What's the best pricing for our vehicles? Which vehicles should we buy more of? Which vehicles should we maybe stay away from? What's the best maintenance plan to avoid paying $20,000 for a bus repair? Like all these different things.
Oh,
So
all
that's
these
the
little
vehicle
micro
side.
optimizations, essentially.
Yeah. And then also looking at the business overall. So because again, it's kind of for the second stage, or like the next stage is taking what you're doing, making it better, and then continuing to innovate the way that the business operates. For us, at least, that might be different for other people, but what is doing all those little things, because that's how we continue to stay in business. Like those are just things that have to be done.
Yeah.
For me, how I kind of see it is like, now what is stopping the business at this point from growing, right? So for us, it's like, if we have the leads, right? We have the inventory, but we're going to add more. That's just natural growth. We're going to add more inventory. So we have the leads, we have the inventory, we have the employees, kind of have cash. We have these different things. Why is the business not growing at this point? Why is it not
the
continue
weakest
to
link,
accelerate?
sort of, where if we remove this one thing, it starts growing again, essentially.
Exactly. So, and now it's a matter of like, okay, for us, what we've kind of identified is like, we need to improve the sale. Like, we have the deal flow, but how do we get that conversion rate up? And it might be a couple different things to do to improve that conversion rate. It could be adding more vehicles, it could be adding better vehicles, it could be improving our sales process, it could be talking to specific people. But in order to do that, it takes basically taking the entire structure of how we're currently organized. Like we have our CSRs and dispatch are kind of basically one and the same. But now for us, it's kind of separating that out, having salespeople, having dispatch, and then kind of finding those micro things that affect the business a lot, right? So like, let's say we have, I don't know, 1,000 leads come through, and 1,000 leads that come through every single month, and we close 20% of those leads. And let's say each lead is, over the lifetime value, over the life of their whatever is $1,000. So that's $200,000 that we've collected every single month in terms of lifetime value. Well, how do we, if nothing's growing at this point, what do we do at this point, right? Yeah. Do we increase that value? Do we start getting bigger trips, start going after party buses and increase that value? Maybe that might help a little bit, but that's only a small segment. Well, maybe 60% of our business is airport, sedan, SUV. How can we affect this segment? Like, do we purchase something that's specifically targeting these people? Or do we just go after the conversion rate in general, right? Maybe how do we get from 20% to 30% conversion rate? That goes add an extra 100,000, over the
That's a huge
value
lever.
Huge lever.
Website, landing page. It's the one thing where, you're putting all this ad spend, through this system. And it's the one thing where if you go from a 20 to a 25% conversion rate, all of a sudden, you're getting 25% more leads, right? Which is huge. But to your point, I get what you're saying. The answer isn't always like, we just need more lead. It's like, well, maybe, are you using a CRM? Are you tagging the different types of clients, what they've actually done with you? Because maybe you can, do you have an email marketing campaign? Are you marketing to, the unconverted leads, right? Because a lot of times, you don't need more leads. You need to improve your sales process, right? And all these little things, when you add them up, oh, small increase in conversion rate, little bit better sales process. We're better at reselling services to our current clients. No more, really not having many more leads, but you can, increase your revenue by 25, 50% just by making these little tweaks. And so it sounds like that's kind of where you're at. And you kind of handle the sales and marketing side, right?
Yeah. So I mostly did the sales and marketing, correct?
Yeah. And your partner is operations, correct?
Yeah, exactly. He does more of the operations, financial, HR related thing.
Nice.
So just to speak on that as well, because I think people get very caught up in the sales and marketing as well. Like it's very important if you're growing and you're in that beginning phase, like figure that sales and marketing stuff out. Get someone like Mark to help you with the your pay-per-click, because that's something very valuable.
Yes.
It helped us a lot. But that's only one half of the picture. Like yes, you need to have the sales and marketing, but your operations need to be very, very sound. So when you're starting off, like, balls to the wall, just start getting leads, start getting sales, like it's fine. You're going to mess things up as you go. That's kind of the type of person that I am. My business partner is a little bit slower and steady. Like he's like, okay, let's figure it out. Put the process in place. Like these are the things that we should look at. But you really need to have both, right? Because like perfect example is like, okay, great. So let's say we're getting a ton of sales, ton of leads, and ton of people coming in. And what if your delivery sucks? Like what if your people that you're onboarding sucks? Your drivers are not great. Well, they might come in and your lifetime value for a customer and now might go from $1,000 or $1,500 to $300 because no one wants to come back into your business, or to infinity. Basically, there's so many things.
Yeah. So yeah, lifetime client value is highly reliant on operations, right? And that can almost drive, more revenue, making sure that that's really tied and you are making sure everyone has a good experience.